All right. Thank you all for your input on that. Be very useful exercise. All right, now we will move to the budget, our departmental budget, which, as I explained last month, as much as possible, we want to settle on what we think it should look like at tonight's meeting because it's due by August 8th. And our next budget workshop, I believe, would be that day. I don't know. Perhaps. I don't know if that's a Tuesday. I don't have my iPhone with me here, but...
What date? August 8th?
Yeah.
Is a Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, we need to look at this with a jaundiced eye, go over it line by line, and we had some things that we needed a counselor to look into as we discussed it in general terms last month. But let's start on page 1. You see, you got a back and a front, okay? Obviously, our first subset of accounts here are the salary expense related to the legislative positions, and obviously nothing to change there. They are what they are, unless, of course, somebody has another comment on it that we can offer in public. In our next section of line items, office furniture, equipment, and computer equipment, I would like to defer to Chairman Diamond, who would like to present some information or not only some information, but perhaps a proposal to us.
Sure, thank you, Chair. I guess what I'd like to do is I'll put some numbers out for everyone to digest, and then take a soft poll on if it's something that we're interested in. And I'll start with the office furniture. And these desks and chairs have been here over 20 years, as we mentioned. You know, some of the coasters or rollers are coming off. And are we interested in replacing the furniture? The cost I got, and this is it's a cost on the high side, and what it would look like is the furniture up in the new public safety building where the desks are in the round and the chairs are upgraded from those chairs, a little better than these, and the cost for the furniture is $7,000. So it's something that we may want to put in now and take out if we find out, you know, we have some budgetary issues we may want to take out, or we'll just have a soft poll tonight if that's something the ledge is interested in upgrading the chamber. And
Want to deal with that, Chairman, right now, and then we'll move on to the
yeah, I
next
think that'd be
item?
the best way. So
Okay.
we'll just go around if you're interested.
Legislator Kelly?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think if we get a suggestion like that, we should just make note of it, and then we can review the potential changes in their entirety, because future considerations may offset or make a difference in respect to something that's brought up first.
Good one.
Okay. It was my hope to walk out of here today equipped with the knowledge and information to allow Cheryl to begin filling out the forms necessary to submit by August 8th. So if whatever we have hanging in the balance as undefined, I don't know if we're going to have a forum before the time we need to submit this to settle on some of those values.
You're going to have a Budget and Finance Committee next Tuesday.
Correct.
So under your other, we can go back to this. If you guys go through all these lines tonight, you know, talk about
Okay.
it next week. We still have a couple of
Okay.
weeks, 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could just jump in at this minute, because my interest in changing our portion of the budget has to do with the deputy clerk of the legislature. And not to rehash this, but certainly the changes that were initially made during the first term of the legislature were political in nature. I think people got assignments that perhaps that they liked for votes and things like that. And I understand that politics, I've been around it a long time. Nevertheless, I'd like to set it straight because I think that it's a worthwhile position. I think it's a necessary position, given the workload and the fact that we really have, even though there is a deputy clerk, it's just such a small part-time position that it really doesn't fit our needs for that position.
Okay.
I have not considered what that number would be yet, though. I was just more interested in the principle rather than the amount.
Okay. Legislator Kelly?
I'll wait till we finish discussing this.
Well, I mean, it was my hope and wish to knock these off in an order, you know, like as they're appearing on the paper, instead of jumping around.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You're the chair.
I know.
Let's go through it.
Okay.
I have a feeling we're not going to complete this tonight, you know, because there's going to be things like we said. So for next week, like, I think we should keep going through like we are.
Yes.
Can we get,
Yes, we need to.
Can we get a year-to-date of what's actually been spent in these lines? So that
Might be
we,
able to give you that tonight. Might take me a second while you guys keep talking.
So do you want to vote the furniture up or down?
All right, let's start with that. Legislator Kelly?
no.
Legislator Sweet? Chairman?
Yes. Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Yes.
Does anybody keep track of that vote?
Oh, no. I'm trying to look up your
1, 2.
date thing.
There's
Uh, 3 noes? 1, 2,
and Joe.
3.
And this doesn't mean that this will be the final budget, it means we're entering it tonight.
Right.
I would really, I think Duke brought up a good point. I really, you know, I think that we need to discuss what we would like in our budget, but I think we should really keep going through line by line and discuss the deputy
Sure.
clerk and the furniture.
That's why we're
And let's get an actual, you know, because we may go through and have increased our budget by 150,000 and go, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Right. All right, well, I mean, that's what, but that's why we're, you know, I would say that's why we're looking to potentially assign a value here to see that we can, you know,
If it's reasonable. Well, I think maybe what he's saying is instead of voting on each thing, put the number in there. And
All right.
Get to the end, say, oh, wait a minute, you got 200,000.
All right. All right, okay, let's do that then.
And whittle it off.
All right, so you're saying roughly 7,000 for equipment, or for desks. And you have one other proposal, Chairman?
Was that office equipment? Chair.
Or
Yes.
furniture?
Chairs.
Chair.
I mean, I guess what we're doing is basically preparing a wish list.
Well, that's what a budget is, right?
Yeah, I just wish you didn't call it that.
Split a budget that we could digest for the next week's meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. All right, Chairman Diamond, I believe, has another
Yeah, so
proposal
office-
under the same section of accounts.
Office equipment, I wanted to add another monitor to the other side so that we can see also. The monitor we had 2 years ago was 500, so I'm putting in 1,000. I'm sure it'll be less than that, but I think that's a safe number.
And that'll come under office equipment?
Yes.
All right, so we have 7,000 office furniture, 1,000 office equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I address that?
Yes.
I mean, in today's world of technology, and this is probably going to turn people's heads, but I mean, we're still doing presentations on a tear-off paper board. You know, is it a time that we get into something like a smart board or something like that?
Well, let me just say that some legislators, no. The easel was not necessarily considered cost-effective.
I agree.
And I know that's
That's all right, I mean,
more expensive, but if
yeah.
we're having discussions on a wish list.
Well, I mean, personally, I mean, I may not be in this position next year, but I can certainly deal with writing on an easel. As long as you can deal with reading. Excuse me?
You have okay penmanship.
Well, it was the Palmer method taught by the nuns, the Sisters of St. Joseph, who used to hit my hands with a ruler. I didn't hold the pen right. All right, so that takes care of the equipment area. Heading down now to the other set of general ledger accounts under our cost center here. There's one item that I wanted to discuss in this next a blanket of 4407 accounts down to 4589, if nobody else does. Just take a look at them. I'm not going to rush you through it. Not going to rush you through it. The 750 is office supplies.
Okay.
What's that?
We were, well, I mentioned maybe we wanted to see what we spent last year to verify these numbers.
We can just continue and then we'll.
Okay.
We can go back.
Okay. All right, so office supplies, 750. So obviously, we want to know where we stand against that, but Cheryl, do you have any idea where we, oh,
Personal services. I asked
that's the
Cheryl-
accounting firm.
I asked Cheryl to look up what the original number was for the position.
Okay, good. It's good to be equipped. We need that info. All right, well, forget about the 750 for a minute. It looks like a standard number for office supplies. I don't know if we need
I'm
to.
sorry, no.
I just wanted to get it, if you had any in your mind's eye, how we're tracking against our $750 office supply line item.
Well, in case you guys haven't figured out by now, I'm very frugal.
You are.
And I have not spent much money on office
Okay.
supplies.
So,
I gathered paper clips and pens from everywhere I can find.
okay,
I'm printing it off right now. I don't think much has been spent. Only
Okay.
the majority of that line, just so everyone knows, is for the toner for the copier.
okay.
Which is-
That's what goes into that?
Which the cartridges are quite expensive. actually.
Okay, all right. And let me just say, I believe this is a good exercise, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe anything like this happened last year where this was looked at as a board, correct?
That's correct.
It was just,
We've discussed it.
okay,
Tom,
okay. All right, moving down the list of accounts, doesn't appear like to need to add any value to furniture, telephone, equipment lease, maintenance agreements, professional services. That's the contract with Bonadio, I believe.
Yes.
So $210 is what I spent.
Okay.
on supplies.
Year-to-date, 210, so we're on good track with that 750, okay? You're all about to get a list of costs incurred to date here. All right, so Bonadio is at $55,000, and that's a fixed cost. We know that's going to be part of that contract. All right, moving down the ledger, travel. I don't see, let me see here. Travel, we're at 300 against a budget of 5,000.
That's the NIAP conference, which is not till September, right?
Right, the NISAC conference.
NISAC,
okay.
And the two conferences that I attended this year, I did not put in for mileage for either of them.
Okay.
Scholarship.
So we need to keep that where it is because of the lion's share that's going to be spent for that conference, do you
Well, it
think?
doesn't
Jerry?
necessarily mean we have to fund it for next year.
Okay, I mean, but is it normal for us to fund, to make money available for any or all of us to go to this thing?
That's what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that that's what has to happen in the future.
Chairman Diamond, I believe we've always, in the last 3 years, have kind of gauged maybe 4 to 5 of the legislators going, or 4, like, and then myself, because I have to go. as
Okay.
my-
Yeah, excuse me, Jerry, the other part is if they don't go, we can just put it back into the fund.
Fund
general
balance.
fund
Okay,
balance.
okay.
And it gives us a little room to breathe, too. on our budget.
Yeah.
We have such a small budget.
Yeah, we got a small budget to begin with. And I mean, I would think that that's a reasonable allocation there, you know, for the sake of going into next year's budget. Mileage allocation, we're at nothing. We've spent nothing on mileage and we got 1,000 budgeted.
Here's your monitor.
We can buy your TV.
Yeah.
Monitor.
Well, I mean, that's where we maybe get, I mean, do we need to put it in, that, I guess triggers another question. Do we need to put it in next year's budget, or can we make a transfer and use it out of this year's money?
Well, we could half it.
I would like to see those two line items cut in half, and half of that money be used for what we're looking at as part of that, so that we're keeping the expenditures of this block close to what it was, just by moving, you know, saying
Shifting.
this year we're gonna upgrade some of the office, but we're not going to really be putting in more money in the budget. We're just going to be
Shifting.
using the same,
Yeah.
shifting the same amount.
Okay, that's a good idea. Is everybody comfortable with that? I mean,
Yes.
will the travel,
2,500 and then 500.
2,500 for travel-related costs, 500 for mileage, which appears, you know, so right there, that's a cost savings of $3,000, you know, that we can shift elsewhere. Yep.
So we're only at a plus of $5,000 right now within this group.
Are we plus 5?
Yeah, because we had 1,000 for the smart, the monitor, and 7,000 for the equipment, so that was 8,000, right?
That's 8, and we just saved 3. Oh, I see what you mean. So we're running 5,000 over.
Over what we were.
Well, yeah, same.
We're looking for $5,000.
Yep, all right. Association dues.
5,000.
Association dues, looks like that line item is something that's paid earlier in the year. We're at 6,900 out of 7,133. It's such a specific looking number. It looks like it needs to be 7,133.
Well, we'll be receiving that probably not until November. They'll determine what the dues is, but the association dues, it's for the NISAC and for my clerk.
And that's for all of us, correct?
Right, and that's for
Okay.
all.
All right, I
So, the $195, I believe there's another membership
All right.
that has not been paid yet.
All right,
I can't tell you that.
I mean, I think that's let's leave that where it's at, I think, for that very reason. Legal notice and advertising, 1,500, and we're at 233.
I have 3 huge bills that haven't been paid yet.
Totaling?
So that number needs to stay at that
Okay.
amount.
Got 1,200
With the
left.
local laws that we do, they're
Yep.
very costly.
Okay. Bed tax. This was an item that came up last month. We wanted counselor to look into as to whether it needed to be, whether it's something that belonged in our budget out of necessity. So what did you find out, counselor?
So, local law 3 of 2014 is the bed tax law. I'm sure you're all very familiar with that. As far as appropriations and where money needs to go, it's very specific when it comes to revenues and the creation of a special tourism account, which we have, and that's the revenues go into there. Regarding appropriations and whose budget it should be in, it's not black and white there. It does say that Economic Development and Planning Committee shall have oversight of occupancy tax funds, but it's not mandated that it be in your budget. So it really is up to you guys on how you want to manage that.
I'll start with you, Legislator Kelly. Starting with number 1. I'm going to number 9.
Can I get a pass?
You want to pass?
I want to pass.
Is that a strategic move, or till you hear what everybody else says?
I want to hear what everybody else says. And then
No, I'm asking. That's why I'm asking.
hear what
Okay.
everybody else.
Yeah, I want to pass because I don't have enough information for me to
Chairman, okay. Chairman, do you want to,
I'll say what I think. The first year we were here, I felt that the legislature really wasn't involved in the bed tax appropriation. And it says that the Economic Development Committee is supposed to have some role, some oversight, right? Is that what it says?
It says-
Oversight. And we were not involved. And that is why, some of the legislators push to get some of that money put into our budget.
we need this information, so I'm glad you're speaking. I mean,
Yeah.
some of us haven't been here before, so,
That's a big reservation for me. That is,
to take it out.
I think if it gets taken out of our budget, the committee needs to be involved in the process. It clearly states either that or we amend that law.
No, we can't do that. Is that our law?
You
It's our law.
you can amend it if you want.
It says we have oversight. It's either amend the law or we're involved. And if those get done, I'm fine. It can go in anybody's budget.
Mm-hmm.
We have laws for a reason. I just like us to follow.
I mean, legislature speaking.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Chairman,
Leave it in our budget.
legislator Head.
I think it should be left in our budget.
Legislator left.
I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to vote. I was doing a little research online regarding the position I was talking about. What are we talking about?
Be honest.
We're talking about the bed tax contribution line item being in our budget as opposed to someone else's, like the executives.
It's even worse now because I don't have an opinion. Probably does not need to be in our budget.
Legislator Isabel?
I agree with Mr. Jesse on that.
Legislator Patel?
Well, as chair of economic development, and being involved with the distribution of it in the past, I'd like to keep it in our budget. We're really not providing any oversight to it if it's not in our budget. And
Symbolically, I suppose that's a good, way to
and again,
define oversight.
in a $110 million budget, this is just the small potatoes, and we've had this argument, discussion for the past 4 years, and we go back and forth and have some ruffled feathers and sore feelings about it. But I really think that it was developed in my eyes to be under our auspices, and I'd like to see it stay.
So we got 2 men. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. The ayes have it.
The ayes have it. Okay.
So it stays.
All right. We will keep it.
Chairman, can we have one thing added to this before our next meeting? We have to our budget.
Okay, yeah,
sheet.
okay.
We need to have what was spent last year.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, the 16 is the township number.
Right.
Not actual.
I might be able to run that report for you right now.
Well, yeah, that's good, but we're doing the flip thing here. Let's get it all on one document so we can go back through. I mean, it doesn't have to be for tonight, just so that we can, before we finalize this, we can say.
Yeah, then we don't have to go mining for it.
Well, just like when we asked Cheryl, do we need to have $1,500? And if you had the actual
Spent.
16, you would know, yes, we spent $14.95.
Right. And there may have been reasons for that, there may have been an anomaly, there may have, okay. All right, thank you, Legislator Sweet.
Thank you.
All right, moving down the line, we are now at Legislator Duchesse's world of the Legislative Board Cost Center that he brought up a little bit earlier, and we have the Clerk of the Legislature's salary line item here.
Mr. Chairman, I did find, while I was supposed to be listening to the rest of the conversation, I did find originally the position that was created was a legislative research specialist, and it was at $42,520. I think what we're looking for here with regard to assistance to our clerk and her office would be a part-time clerk typist position, I think would serve. And probably the salary is already set forth at personnel. We could just find out what that is. But whatever that amount is for the position, that's what I would ask for.
Okay. Do we want to, do we have any idea what that would be? So we can, if we have no idea what that number can be, we can't even discuss it tonight.
Well, let's plug in a number just, which obviously can be amended when the time comes, at $25,000.
Okay.
Suggesting that being a part-time position?
Yes, part-time clerk typist.
So instead of the senior clerk typist, make a clerk typist.
So in lieu of what Jackie was in the past, we'd have a clerk typist for support for clerk.
Yeah, well, that position got renamed and changed and all that other stuff.
Just one comment I think worth bringing up, and I was not an advocate of jumping around, but I'm still not a proponent of it, but I believe we may be also, before we get through this budget, looking to propose the position that you proposed last month for the audit position, which is going to be probably in the vicinity of $30,000.
All right.
So, and certainly came with your recommendation, and rightfully so. You pointed to the value of it, and I think we're all aware of that. So we have to be mindful, I would believe, that, if we do create a position here to help our clerk of the legislature out, knowing full well that we're probably about to add a $30,000 line item back into our budget for the county, for the part-time auditor there. Should we think about another number there? Just from, or is that something we can stomach?
No, perhaps, I don't think we're gonna, once we create establish the line item and the position, I think the position already has a salary attached to it, right? Don't we have that?
Yeah, I would imagine that's the case, sure.
So if it's 25, it's 25, if it's 30, it's 30, if it's 28.5, that's what it is. So, but for our purposes, would you like to put in $30,000 if you anticipate that's what it's going to be?
For the auditor. I mean, that's one I think we've already established precedent on that we were planning on including. So now we're looking at perhaps increasing our salary expense $55,000 to $60,000. If
There's been a couple of changes we've made tonight in these positions. We're looking at a $70,000 increase in our budget.
if we do,
Between these two positions and the office equipment and different things, we're getting close to $70,000
And
increase.
here's where real magic happens. Let's just move the bed tax out of our budget and we just say 55,000.
Yeah, but then we're just going back.
we're past that line item.
Here's sarcasm.
I think both things are going to take more discussion, and I'm not prepared tonight to
I'm not prepared tonight to do either of the same because I want to know what the job description, what the positions are going to do just versus just put something in just to,
placeholder.
I think if we continue going the way that we're going and we have the 15 actual, we'll have the 16 actual, we'll have the 17 adopted, 17 spent year to date, and the numbers that we're putting in now, all in a spreadsheet, and Cheryl can email it to us so that we have time to digest it before next week's committee. I think we just keep going through.
All right, put the numbers in.
I would be really happy with that, because I don't think it's really fair for me to ask
No, you make a very good point.
at this point in time when we don't know exactly what the numbers are.
No, I'm just operating from this mindset that we are conveying a message of jurisprudence to the rest of the operating departments. And, you know, in my mind's eye, I was thinking, when it comes to finance, and I was just thinking, it's probably best for us to, you know, I mean, it's not overinflate things, you know, and practice what we preach, you know, and maybe that'll come out that way, but, you know, that's the exercise we're doing. But I want to say this much, we need to finalize this next Tuesday. So however long our meeting takes, if we got to be here till 10 o'clock, I want to walk out of that meeting with a finished product here.
Absolutely.
All right?
And it's not about the
Fair
enough.
then.
You know,
With that said, I mean, when it comes time, budget time, all those things can change again.
Yeah.
right, I know, it's a moving target. All right, so, yes, Chairman.
Sorry to interrupt. Under deputy clerk of the legislature,
Yep.
that was established the first year I was here. Everyone else in the county has gotten a raise. That position is $2,500. I would recommend raising it to $3,000.
And is that, yeah, okay.
Keep spending this money.
I mean, taking out of the legislature.
All right, so we will,
Chairperson.
we're gonna, so we'll look at the deputy clerk at 3,000,
Oh,
and we'll call the next one just clerk typist? What are we gonna call it?
yes, clerk typist.
Clerk typist,
Part-time.
and we'll ratchet in 25 for that. Okay,
And in the meantime, we can get the actual number and go into this.
yeah, yeah. Who will get that number?
You can,
Yeah.
yeah.
You'll get it? Okay, thanks. All right, we will move down to the county auditor. Next page. I have one piece of information that through our many meetings with the auditor, she mentioned to us last week when we were there doing an audit, and the maintenance agreement line item for $500. The maintenance agreement is going to expire this year. She will no longer need to make that expenditure. However, would like to shift that amount of money up to overtime pay. And the reason being is that under the circumstances that we are doing audits now, it requires, she's getting comp time for it now, but when it comes to the month of December, you can't put in for comp time, and she will be accumulating overtime next year in November and December, provided that that's the same way that the audits are, you know, being done within her schedule. So I'm proposing at her recommendation the movement of the $500 from maintenance agreements up to overtime pay. Legislator Kelly.
That might be a moot point if we have the auditor.
You're not gonna have the auditor until 2018.
This is the.
No, she's gonna do it, this year she's gonna do she's able to put through a transfer that doesn't involve us.
Right.
So this is for next year. That's true, it may be a moot point.
Yeah.
Good point, Legislator Kelly. You're on top of your game.
He ate a lot of cheese today.
So,
Chair.
yes.
Can we have the clerk put in the actual salary for the principal clerk typist for next year, based on the contract?
I can, yes.
Okay.
And that would be
Just ask personnel.
for, right, and that would be for mine as well, so.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go back to yours. Let's go back to yours. I was wondering, you know, I
I
wanted
don't
to,
even know what, I think it's 1% we're getting, I don't know. But I'll
There's a
check.
contract.
I'll check with
That's separate.
Sean.
Contractual.
What are you talking about, for the spreadsheet for next week anyway, right? Or the one
Yeah.
that you emailed?
Yeah.
yeah, but who's gonna put that number in? You?
I'll get it from Sean.
All right, and you'll put the number in for, okay, thank you, Cheryl. All right, and we'll do the same with the salary line item 1320 up at the top of page 2. All right, you know what? I guess there's no need to make that shift then, right, Chairman Diamond?
Well, I don't think the county auditor position may not pass, so I think we need to be prepared one way or the other.
I think you should put it up there.
All right, let's make the shift. All right, and then if not, we'll take it out. All right, so then that means we will put the part-time county, or we'll put the county auditor part-time over on that line item. Legislator Kelly.
Can you just refresh my memory? The charter said full-time, are we just making that with our term, we're suspending that? Doesn't it say full-time?
We'd be revising the charter. If you want to do a part-time position, that would be a change we'd have to do this year.
Okay. So we'll put 30,000 in on line item 1320. I've also heard the executive indicate that I know it's got to be in our budget though, so let's just do it that way. It's under our auspices, so. All right, down to auditing appropriation total, so, or excuse me, contractual expense total. Office supplies, the auditor was recommending leaving that at 700. Equipment rental, lease repair, leaving that at 100. So we'll do that.
Okay.
And now down to the other categories. Unallocated insurance was taken out last year, so I don't think there's a need to leave it in unless there's an opinion that we need to.
No.
Legislator Kelly.
I do have an opinion, but that's our liability insurance, right?
It's the overall insurance for the county, everything. Yeah.
And who was tasked with management of the assets?
Well, when you're talking, I know what question you're really asking me. What you're getting to is who's in charge of the property.
And I understand it works out, the way that things happen, you know, paying the bills and negotiations and stuff, it works out best having it in the executive budget.
Well, I mean,
Chairman Diamond.
I mean, the thing is, it's a fixed amount. First of all, there's a broker that makes a recommendation, then our body either approves or doesn't approve their recommendation. But the cost is, we know the cost before.
And I'm just giving my opinion.
No, I
I don't
appreciate
care
it.
if it goes in back into our
All right.
budget. I was
And
asked if there was an opinion.
we got a counselor's ruling on it. So. Okay. So, Legislator
I
Kelly.
mean, it's a liability, right? The financial liability, correct? And there's no, the cost is the cost is the cost. It's going through a broker. I mean, I don't have a preference either way because it doesn't, all it's doing is inflating or deflating the last number in the budget. So, I mean, we can argue over semantics of where it belongs, and no, I'm not.
I'm quite all right with it not being in our budget. I was asked if there was an opinion, and I gave my opinion. I'm fine with it being the way it is right now.
All right.
I gave my opinion.
It was a good idea.
And I think it's commendable that you paraphrased Richard Stein. That's pretty cool.
I didn't even know.
I mean, legally, when it comes to the budget, I mean, you guys can put stuff where you want it.
He said the roads
It's
is
not
the roads.
really a hard and fast rule
No, I know.
on any of it. It's just how you want to manage it.
It's literally
I like that.
2 vouchers a year,
Yeah.
one paid broker and one paid insurance.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, like, I see you're arguing, but I don't think by putting it elsewhere in the budget, you're giving up control over the property of the county. But that's I mean, it's a complete decision up to the legislature.
I don't think there's any bruised feelings on either end.
No, all right.
To be honest.
let's move on.
It's just-
All right.
I will, okay.
Okay. Thank you, though, Legislator Kelly. All right, moving on. Judgments and claims. These, not these next 5, but 4 of these next 5, we asked Counselor, the judgments and claims, other economic development opportunity, conservation programs, and county extension services to do a little research on to determine where they, what the legal interpretation would be for the need for them to be in our budget. So let's start off asking Counselor her opinion on judgments and claims.
Judgments and claims is linked to insurance, and like you alluded to earlier, from a management perspective, it's practically speaking, just from a practical perspective, it's a little easier having it in the executive's budget, simply because all of the judgments and claims are reviewed by me, and all of the attorney bills are reviewed by me, and quite often redacted by me and rejected, and we get multiple copies of the same bills. And so then you have a bill going from me to Nancy to Cheryl, and it just becomes a little bit unwieldy. That's just a management perspective. From a legal perspective, you guys can keep it wherever you want.
Discussion.
Legislator Kelly.
It doesn't matter to me.
And just so you guys are aware, last year, 35,000 was budgeted. We transferred money into it and spent over 70,000 of that money.
All right.
So with that said, I guess I would transfer that to the executives so that he can monitor the fund a lot more closely than he did.
We got more spending.
You're about to gain a little bit more too, pal, I think. All right. Everybody all right with that?
Yep.
All right.
That was for the,
Judgments and claims. Out. Okay. Contingent account. I'm talking about it simply because it's here and the next in line. It wasn't one we needed the counselor to look at, but my opinion that I expressed last week, which was only one opinion out of 9, was that I kind of like it being in here because symbolically, you know, it's a check and balance over the executive arm of the budget. I know it would have to come to us by resolution anyway, but, you know, and because it has to come to us by resolution, kind of suggests, you know, we have actual jurisdiction over the number, and, but that's my opinion, and my opinion only. Discussion.
I do have an opinion.
Good.
I feel that if it goes into the executive budget, which this whole thing is the executive budget.
Yes, it is.
Then there's an opportunity for transfers to happen.
Outside.
It becomes a line item that we've budgeted in. So I just fear that money can be transferred out and we just do that.
Me too.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and I feel the same way.
I agree with you, Stan.
Stay.
Stay.
Legislator Sweet.
Absolutely.
Chairman Diamond.
Stay.
Stay and stay. All right, we'll keep that one in.
Question. You want to keep it at 250? In 2016, it was at 305.
You know, that's a topic worth discussion. Let's face it, we essentially have a $100 million budget, roughly. You know, it's kind of a small amount of money, you know, I mean, even a construction project, you know, that we finance at the bank has 10% contingency on it in case something goes awry during the construction, which is typical. It's great to have it at a dollar level that keeps it reined in so that, you know, oh no, we got a bigger pot of money and we can go after a little bit more of it, you know, but What do we all think about that?
Saves a lot of anguish at the end when you have that.
I just have a thought with
Yes.
respect to that, because I proposed a couple of increases, but our legislative budget is 1% of the total.
Yeah.
So when we start to make proposals, whether they're small or fairly large for increases, the impact really is kind of skewed. Now, I've supported some of these increases because I think that they can be, that they're justified. But that doesn't mean that we can't go looking in other areas of the budget. I'm not just in favor of simply increasing the budget, even for justifiable expenditures. But the problem is that areas where we can offset it are found elsewhere in the budget rather than 1% in the legislative money. And so when the time comes, we can take note of where we made increases and then make perhaps appropriate cuts to other parts of the budget to offset that. So with a goal of coming in with a very similar budget to this year.
All right, that's a very good point, Legislator Jesse. But that said, what's the reality of that number as a contingency number? Legislator Patel.
I guess my question goes back. If we increase that, the more that we increase things like that we really are guessing game. Contingency is a guessing game. So we're inflating a tax burden on the taxpayers because of a guessing game. If it ends up that you have to have 6 votes to take something out of fund balance as opposed to taking out of contingency because of that.
Is that a bad thing? Right.
That's not a bad.
Right.
So I don't think that, we're restricted in our tax increase. Okay, we have all different things. And this is the unknown. That's what contingency is, the unknown. So you may not be in contingency, but it'll be in fund balance. I would prefer to keep things in fund balance than in contingency.
Do we have a history? Pardon me, do we have a history?
I'm sure we do.
Well, I mean, that'll give us a
Yeah.
good way to guess, if you're want to call it guess.
Or estimate.
Do you want me to get that to John?
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be useful.
I don't think there's ever been a surplus of contingent funds.
No. You know, if you build it, they will come. If you allocate it, they will spend.
But what the legislator Patel said is true, is that obviously if it's a big expenditure, something we would bond or go to the fund balance. So the contingency is more for
Small emergencies, yeah.
small business.
All right.
I would add to that sometimes the tendency to take from contingency should be looked at only after you've actually reviewed the entire budget of the department that's requesting the transfer. We could be making other transfers during the year to offset some of those cuts. And that's what I'm talking about, where we can take a little tighter control. And we don't, just because we're proposing an increase in one area doesn't mean that we can't skin other areas.
All right, sure. All right, I mean, I was just talking largely about what's a good number, as a percentage of the whole, but I wasn't looking to shoot it through the roof, that's for sure.
But Chair, if I could just recommend maybe we leave the number there until, like Legislator Sweet said, we get the history.
All right, and we'll take a look at that on Tuesday.
Yep.
All right. All right, I'll circle that one. Circle gets the square. And, all right, and then that way we'll know enough to look at that Tuesday. All right, the next 3 general ledger areas in our budget, we asked the counselor to take a look at the need to have them in our budget. Legislator Kelly brought up last month that there may be premise upon which they need to be included in our budget. and we needed Counselor to take a look at that. So, Counselor Mannion, what did you find out? You might as well go category to category, you know, starting with other economic opportunity and development.
So, well, the answer is the same for all three of these. Looking at County Law 224, which gives you the ability to contract with public benefit services, it says the Board of Supervisors shall have the power to contract with nonprofit organizations and other corporations, associations, and agencies within the county. Now, once again, you can do with it as you want. You could interpret it that as, because every year you pass you pass a resolution as a legislature saying we're going to contract with the agency for this amount of money, that satisfies that. Or if you want to keep it under your budget, you can do that as well. Really what county law gets into is what needs to be in that contract, and we've gone through that with a fine-tooth comb this year, and Cheryl can attest to that, and made sure that we were definitely checking all the boxes and we're meeting all the requirements under county law for those contracts. But where you want it in your budget that's the flexibility and the choice of the legislature. It's not a hard line either way. It's a matter of preference.
Discussion.
You know, we've gone back and forth with the Office of the Aging every year, where whose line, put it in what budget. Again, a rose is a rose, Mr. Chessie. I mean, it's an expenditure that we have, it's just who's doling it out. And, I mean, we make a decision whether to increase it or not. But whose line it's in, whose line is it anyways?
Another TV show.
I got Karen.
See what I'm saying? I mean,
But do we have,
we get wrapped up in semantics of this every single year.
well, some of us, it's an educational, you know, it's every single year for you. For 5 of us, it's
I guess
news, you know, so.
it becomes a political thing as opposed to being a productive thing.
I'm against big government. And, you know, not against, but not in favor of big government. So, I mean, whatever political power plays led to these things being thrown into our budget in the past, I care not about, you know, and nor should any of us. You know, I mean, the past is the past. And, you know, do we need them in there or don't we? You know, I guess is the point. Or do we want them in? We obviously don't need them in there because the legal opinion is we don't. So now it becomes a prerogative thing. Do we want them in there? You know, I mean, the other premise being that, you know, the executive arm of the government signs the contracts, correct?
Yep.
Which legitimizes it being in that budget. We have to authorize the signing of those contracts through a resolution, correct? So that's how we keep our hand in the pie, you know, without it being in our budget. Yes, sure.
What I was going to mention is that whether it's in our budget or in the executives, it's 4 vouchers a year for each of them. We pay them quarterly. So it would either be the chairman of the board signing the voucher or the county executive.
Right. Semantics.
Semantics, yeah.
I think for budgeting purposes, the numbers are more important than the line that they're in. And this is a discussion we can have in September and discuss whether it's in the executive's budget or legislative budget. The numbers, if they don't change, are not going to have any effect on the bottom line of the total budget. So,
No, this is housekeeping.
no, what I'm saying,
You know, and I want to sweep up the rug now. I don't want to wait till September. You know what I mean? I mean, everything we keep putting off just prolongs this agony. You know?
well, with that
So-
said, I don't have any problem relinquishing those lines.
I get, you know, that's the bottom line question. Do we need control over them? I mean, don't we have control over them to a certain degree when they have to come to us in the form of a resolution, we do. But, anyway, Legislator Kelly, opinion?
I don't care where they go,
Okay,
as long as those agencies come to our meeting and present their budget to us.
Understood.
Because the first year, when we were playing hopscotch with this thing, they presented their proposals to the executive, and we really didn't have a chance to hear Dave Jordan come explaining why Office of the Aging needed an increase of X amount of dollars, or Cooperative Extension needing this.
Okay.
You know, I don't have an issue as long as, you know, these are outside agencies and they're important. And
We need them.
We need to know.
yeah. Valuable
These are
services
these
we need.
supporting agencies, we need to know where that money's going, not just, yep, we asked for an increase or
There you go.
decrease and let's just.
Very good
move
point,
along.
very good point.
I agree with that. I think that we need as a body to treat them as a department head, basically. Give us your budget, tell us what it's about. I don't think that they need to be in our budget. You know, those lines need to be there because we do have other ways.
All right, thank you. Chairman Diamond?
My opinion is to leave the amounts the same as of right now and transfer the budget titles, line items to the executive's budget. But I do have a question. If we're going to retain bed tax on our budget, in the executive's budget, he also has half of that. Do we want to transfer, put that back, put that all on us? Because we need to have oversight over it. The executive has 55 and we have 55.
What's everybody feel about that? It's not a bad idea. Unless, does he need control over half of it for any reason us newcomers are unaware of? No?
Part of that is the admin.
Yeah, that money there, that bed tax is actually the portion that we use to pay the chamber for
Oh, for the
I
tourism?
Love New York tourism.
Okay, and that comes from us.
So the 55,000 that's in there right now, 30 of it is, this might be the other way, half of it is paid out of ours and the other half is paid out of the executives, but half of that, 25 of it is for the I Love New York and 30 is for the chamber admin piece.
Okay. Is everybody,
The other half comes out of the executives.
so there's no harm or foul in us having it all in ours?
The other half is in the executive's budget, so the executive, you'll have to find out from the executive if he wants to, we want to take it back from him, or?
Well, I'm just going by the definition that was given to us tonight, that it's under the oversight of the Economic Development Committee, which is us.
I think that's a strong enough premise, and I also think, relinquishing the other three is a nice offset, as far as a trade-off is concerned. So what does everybody think? We can propose that, can't we? Sure can. All right, let's go back to page 1, change the 55 to 110.
Would you like me to let the executive know that part of?
Absolutely. Along with the fact that we're relinquishing judgments and claims and the other three on the bottom.
Well, he'll know that, he'll figure that out when we actually go down next Tuesday. Like, because it may not happen. Maybe in discussion, he'll present a case why it should stay.
Yeah. All right, but we can go into it that way. All right.
Or we can change the whole law.
Yeah. All right, so just recapping, let's go back down over it so we're all on the same page, or 2 pages, so to speak. Salary line items remain the same. Office furniture, $7,000, equipment, $1,000. Office supplies at $750. Professional services remain in there at $55. That's the CPA firm. Travel-related costs down to $2,500. Mileage allocations down to $500. Association dues staying level at $71.33. Legal notice advertising remaining at $1,500. Bed tax up to $110. Clerk of the legislature's salary on the report given to us with all the required columns will reflect a 2018 amount that factors in the contract increase. Deputy clerk of the legislature, $3,000. Senior clerk typist part-time, $25,000. Principal account clerk for auditor, reflecting an increase for 2018 based on the contract. County auditor, $30,000. On that line item, 1320 1120. Down into the contractual expenses, office supplies at $700, equipment lease repair $100. And Cheryl, is that some? I mean, it's such a small amount. I don't care, but is there a contract in place, or is that just the?
That's Ian's, I
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
know.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. What am I saying? Okay. Yeah, she told us that. The 500 in maintenance agreements, shooting up to overtime pay in the event the auditing position does not go through or get approved. Unallocated insurance, oh, I'm sorry, that's out anyway. Judgments and claims out to executive. Contingent account in at $250. It's subject to revision based on history. The other 3 out. Got everything I talked about? Anything else anybody would like to discuss? I hope not.
Are you asking for an opinion?
Oh, yes, we do have a piece of new business that legislator Headwell would like to propose to us, and I think it's he mentioned it very early, and it's a great idea.
I went to the town of Glen town meeting last night, and Supervisor Coddington brought up that the commission, was it the Energy Commission or? But National Grid is proposing a 17% increase in their rates. They've asked us.
Effective next April, by the way, that would be. Yeah.
If we would go on record, resolution, letter, whatever we need to do, saying that we're under a 2% cap, that we can't, that this would hurt all the municipalities, it would hurt everybody that's within our jurisdictions, it would hurt us to allow a 17% increase when we can only, by law, have a 2% increase in our budget, that we would need to do something along those lines. And I was kind of hoping and trying to get some direction on what we could actually do, who we could send something to, telling the commission that we're against such an increase by National Grid.
Was that the actual kilowatt rates or is it delivery rates? I think it was delivery.
I think it's delivery.
Which is still.
They did have one for delivery and one for supply, but we already do supply with the other group, so that really wouldn't affect. But it's for electricity and for gas.
I think that could hurt us very much, an increase of that size, and it may be worth going on record, that's just my opinion, by virtue of a resolution indicating that, we're not in favor of a rate hike of that magnitude. I mean, I think their claim today in the Times Union is they haven't had a rate increase in, I forget how many years, many years, and that's, but it still has to go before the public, something.
Service Commission.
Service Commission. for
When do you
approval.
need the resolution?
I don't know, when we need to submit something or do something, but I think we should be sending something to the Public Service Commission saying that we, against it.
I could check with, check on the listserv for the clerks tomorrow to see if any of the other counties have put forth a resolution that we could potentially use.
Okay. I mean, is everybody in favor of opining on this as a group?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy to work with Cheryl on drafting something for next week.
All right, good. We could be the first.
We probably will be one of the
That was
first
being the
ones.
first one. It's a great idea, Legislator Edwell, and thank you for bringing it to the table. All right, any other items anybody would like to do?
And one thing I forgot to
Yes,
mention
Chairman
during
Dyer.
the legislative budget. Soon, and Cheryl and I have started to work on it, and sharing more information for you tonight. We will not be in compliance with our video system because at a certain point, and I'll get that date for you, it has to be ADA compatible. So that may be something that may enter into our budget this year or next year. But I'll get the date and the information on what it would cost for us to do that.
Excuse my, Counselor, I'm sorry.
Actually, I've been having a discussion with IT about this.
Oh,
and,
okay.
I believe they're already looking into how much it would be to update the equipment.
Oh, okay, good.
So I'll check with them on how that's going and send an update to the legislature.
And Chairman Diamond,
Yeah.
also Deb has been, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but she hasn't been able to do it on all of the agendas, but there is a blurb, I guess, at the bottom that shows that it's, what's it say, Megan? Something about the closed caption.
Oh, there's specific ADA.
Yeah. So she has been able to do it on some of the stuff. She's been rolling it out, but there's software and stuff that IT needs to purchase to make it more.
And so that is, that was going to be my question. Is it having closed caption? Is that how it
That's
becomes
a
ADA?
big portion of it.
Well, I think Chairman Diamond, what he's referring to is this system right here, just for you five that are new, was on a shoestring budget. That's a $350 camera that we're just, using and making it work. I mean, it is very primitive. It's not the greatest quality. I don't know if you ever watch back the videos. The quality is not good at all.
It
But-
doesn't have the
but-
closed captioning.
So we're looking to kill two birds with one stone and getting something that's ADA compliant and will upgrade the quality of what we have?
I think
You would think
that,
so?
yes, I think that could all happen at the same time.
Okay, great.
So we'll see where IT is.
I'll let you know.
20 grand.
Thank you all for your time and patience, and the budget workshop is adjourned at 8:26. Thank you very much.